Welcome to The Explainer. So, with Christopher Nolan's massive 2026 movie adaptation on the horizon, starring none other than Matt Damon as the legendary king of Ithaca, there has literally never been a better time to finally tackle one of the greatest stories ever told. Consider this your absolute, definitive survival guide to Homer's 3,000-year-old epic. Whether you're prepping for opening night or you're just looking to conquer a true foundational masterpiece of Western culture, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our clear, organized roadmap to completely demystify this text for you today. First, we'll look at the ultimate ancient epic. Then, we'll break down the gods, mortals, and monsters. Third, we'll explore the missing hero. And finally, we'll show you exactly how to choose your perfect translation. Section 1. The ultimate ancient epic. To truly wrap our heads around this text, we have to start with the big picture. And the wildest part? Homer probably didn't even exist. Instead, that name represents a rich, pre-literate oral storytelling tradition. These stories were memorized and performed out loud way before they were ever written down in ancient Greece. Keeping that massive ancient legacy in mind, I want to ask you a question. Just how big is the foundation of Western literature? When we think about a foundational, multi-millennia-old epic, it's so easy to imagine something impossibly dense that's going to take a literal lifetime to read. But here is the reality. 120,000. That is the exact word count of the original Greek text. To put that into perspective for you, that's completely comparable in length to a classic novel like Wuthering Heights or Sense and Sensibility. Most English translations sit right around 450 to 550 pages. So yeah, while it is absolutely epic in its cultural impact, it's actually entirely manageable for you to sit down and read. You can totally do this. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer focus of the story, which is captured perfectly in its opening word. See, while the Iliad begins with the word menon, meaning wrath, because it's all about a process, the fiery anger of a warrior, the Odyssey begins with andra, meaning man. This is a story laser-focused on a versatile hero, a man of many twists. Odysseus isn't just a guy with a sword. He's this incredibly adaptable, cunning survivor who has to use his wits to navigate a wildly unpredictable world. Which brings us to Section 2, Gods, Mortals, and Monsters. To really understand how Odysseus survives all this, we need to zoom in on the actual meat of the story. The entire epic is divided up into 24 books, and you can easily digest the overarching narrative in 4 main chunks. Books 1 through 4 are called the Telemachus. Books 5 through 8 take us to the island of Scheria. Then, books 9 through 12 are those famous, epic flashbacks of Odysseus' travels. And finally, books 13 through 24 cover his dramatic, and frankly bloody, return to Ithaca. Having this simple roadmap in your head makes reading the poem so much smoother. Along this journey, you are going to meet a wild, supernatural cast. Rapid fire, we've got Athena, the goddess of wisdom, constantly donning disguises to help our heroes out. Then there's Poseidon, the god of the sea and storms, acting as Odysseus' ultimate nemesis. We have amorous immortals like Calypso and the witch Circe trying to trap him, not to mention Polyphemus, the giant one-eyed Cyclops, and of course, those beautiful but totally deadly sirens. But remember this crucial detail. The gods enforce a strict law of moral cause and effect. It's actually human recklessness, mortals breaking the gods' laws, that triggers the divine punishment and truly drives all the suffering in the plot. Meanwhile, back on Earth, we have the human element. Odysseus is our cunning king just trying to get back home. Penelope is his brilliant, fiercely faithful queen who's been fending off unwanted advances for 20 long years. Telemachus is their son, a young prince who basically had to grow up without a father. And then we have the suitors. Now, you really have to understand, these guys aren't just annoying nobles wanting to marry the queen. No, they are more than 100 unruly, dangerous freeloaders exploiting a massive political power vacuum. They're literally eating Odysseus' estate out from under his family. Section 3, the missing hero. Now, what's really interesting here is a mind-blowing structural secret that catches almost every first-time reader completely off guard. Think about it. The Odyssey is arguably the most famous character study in all of literary history, right? Yet for the first 4 books, out of 24, literally 20% of the entire epic, Odysseus is completely missing from the narrative. No way, right? The story completely subverts all your expectations by opening on an entirely different character. This opening section is known by academics as the Telemachus. Instead of starting off with a swashbuckling, confident hero, the epic begins with Odysseus' son, Telemachus. And when we meet him, he is no warrior. He's a passive, deeply despondent teenager who feels entirely helpless against these arrogant suitors invading his home. So the epic actually kicks off as a profound coming-of-age journey. And constantly looming over this young man's journey is something called the Agamemnon warning. Throughout these early books, we keep hearing the story of King Agamemnon, who was murdered by a usurper the second he got back from Troy, until his own son Orestes took bloody revenge. This acts as a massive, flashing warning sign for Telemachus. Basically, if he doesn't step up right now, the suitors are going to usurp his father's kingdom and potentially murder them both. To prevent this absolute disaster, the goddess Athena visits Telemachus in disguise and gives him a very specific two-step plan to basically force him into adulthood. Step 1. Call an assembly of Ithacan nobles to publicly and officially challenge the suitors. This lays the crucial moral groundwork for their future punishment. Step 2. Leave the safety of his home and travel to Pylos and Sparta. By seeking out news of his father from other famous veterans of Troy, Telemachus finally begins to build his own reputation in the wider heroic community. He's stepping out of his dad's shadow. Section 4. Choose your perfect translation. Let's move to and see how this builds into your actual reading experience. Because honestly, picking up this 3,000-year-old text requires finding the translation that matches your personal reading vibe. So I'm going to play the role of your friendly neighborhood bookstore matchmaker. Let's find your perfect match. If you're a first-time reader, definitely grab Robert Fagles. It perfectly balances narrative momentum with this amazing poetic grandeur. If you want something that just reads smoothly, kind of like a modern novel, Evie Rue's classic prose is incredibly accessible. Now, for the purists out there who want to feel the ancient, hypnotic rhythm of Homer's hexameter, Daniel Mendelssohn's 2025 translation is an absolute masterclass in accuracy. Prefer to listen on your commute? Simon Armitage's version is a gripping, full-cast radio drama. Got a teenager at home? Geraldine McCaughrean's retelling is thrilling and super accessible. And if you love a bit of warmth and wit, Stephen Fry's recent prose retelling is incredibly relatable and jaunty. There is truly, for sure, a version for everyone. So the crucial point is that you find a translation that makes the ancient world vividly real to you. The famous author C.S. Lewis actually said this about the beautiful musical verse translation by Robert Fitzgerald. He said it has a strong, salty flavor of its own, and it makes you see things. That's the magic right there. That is exactly what a great translation of the Odyssey is going to do. It will transport you directly to the deck of a ship tossing on the wine-dark sea. Which leaves us with one final thought. At its core, the Odyssey isn't just a dusty piece of ancient history. It is a timeless, gripping story about survival, adaptability, and the sheer willpower it takes to reclaim your life. So I'll leave you with this. If you were dropped into an ancient power vacuum with literal monsters on the horizon, how long would it take you to find your way home? Pick up a copy, dive in, and find out exactly how Odysseus does it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy reading.